Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Track Day Heroes podcast, episode 3 for February 12th, 2015. We weren't around last week, but we're back. We've recovered from the Super Bowl, and this week I've got Nate Pike with me as always. What's up, Nate?
How's it going, guys?
And on top of that, we have a special guest this week. We've got Jason Brooks from BrooksCycles.com. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
This week we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. We are going to talk about group street riding. Jason's led several of those, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some winter maintenance tips, picking out your track suit, things to think about, getting to the track, your trailer, different ways to mount your bike, the practical aspects of that. There's lots of people do it different ways. We're also going to talk about Isle of Man TT, MotoGP a little bit, and some thoughts on Tail of the Dragon, since Jason's been there also. And maybe we'll have a comment or two to talk about the Super Bowl at the end of the show. I've got, as far as riding goes, I've got an BMW S1000 RR that I ride on the track and the street. And I've done a lot of track days the last couple of years and looking forward to do a lot of track days this year too with my group of buddies in Track Day Heroes. And Jason, why don't we start with you since you're new to the show and tell us a little bit about your riding experience and what you're riding and what you do for a living. What's going on?
Oh, well, hey, thanks again for having me, man. Name's Jason Brooks. I've been riding since I was about 10 years old. I started on the dirt, and when I was 16, I transferred over to the street. My dad had an old XS 650 Special that he let me ride all the time. So I started with vintage and cruisers and had a lot of fun with that. During my time in the Marine Corps, when I was about 20 years old, I tried a Triumph Speed Triple, and from that, I was absolutely hooked on sport bikes. I love the response of them and the way that they the way that they handle it was amazing. So when I got to Quantico over here, I immediately bought a Super Hawk. So that's my main street ride is a 2003 Honda Super Hawk. Super torquey. It's a lot of fun. Get up in the mountains, and it's what they call a canyon carver. For the track, I've had 3 different track bikes. I've had a YZF R6. Didn't really pertain to my taste really, so I ended up trading it in, and I got an SV650S. And I love that track bike. It's a very good track bike, but the only thing that I don't like about the track bike is when I go to the beginner days, I pass people in the corners, and as soon as I get to the straightaway, I get passed with R1s passing me all day. So I decided I'm going to upgrade. My next bike will either be a Super Hawk or an RC51 for the track. I got 60,000 miles on my track bike, or excuse me, on my Super Hawk, and I've got about 30,000 miles on my other couple bikes that I have. So about 100,000 miles worth of experience. And what I do for a living is I'm an entrepreneur. I own Brooks Cycles. It's a highly rated motorcycle shop in Northern Virginia. We do service, repair, maintenance, and performance enhancement on pretty much anything with 2 wheels. We do American bikes. We do European bikes. We do Japanese bikes. Do tune-ups, maintenance, tire changes, pretty much anything you name it. We're kind of a jack of all trades all across the board. So.
Well, that's cool. You recently opened a new shop, right?
Yeah, we opened a shop on Lee Road, had one on Willard for a while, and things were just not working out at that particular establishment. I didn't like the way that it was built out, so we got this new place. I'm actually in it right now. I haven't left work yet, so that's kind of my home away from home. We have a customer service lounge upstairs. We have free coffee, Netflix. We're one of the few shops in the area that actually allow you to make an appointment. So if you need something simple like a tire change or an oil change, you just make an appointment, and you wait in the customer lounge there with our free coffee and Netflix while we turn a wrench on your bike. So this is our new home. We love it.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that shop. I've been to your old shop when I've met you and some other people for some group rides, which we'll get to in a minute. Nate, what's going on with you, buddy?
Not a whole lot. What do you mean, like in reference to what I've been up to, or?
Yeah, you've been riding?
Oh, no. We have salt on the ground out here, so I'm just kind of laying low. I mean, I do kind of go out when the weather's above 50, but it's just more of like a stroll. You know, I'm not really trying to drag knee or anything, just putting around, just getting out and, you know, making sure the the chain's still lubed and you know, going out for a ride kind of thing. Not really riding hardcore. So
Well, come on,
that's
man. You
about
were
it.
out last weekend, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah. It was just, you know, leisurely pace, just kind of like enjoying the weather and you know, being able to get out on two wheels and enjoy that aspect of it.
And
Not
what
so
did you
much
take out?
traffic.
Did you take out the HP4?
Yeah, I took out the HP4. It's the only one. The other bikes, the Gixxer's track only, and then the other bike I took the tags off of and insurance off of because it was so expensive. So I was like, I'll just let it sit and marinate for a little bit until I can sell it in the spring. So
So your Gixxer's a 600, right?
yeah, it's an '07 Gixxer 600. Yep.
Well, good. We got a lot to talk about. As I mentioned, I've been on a couple organized group rides. That's how I got to meet Nate a couple years ago, and a lot of the other guys I've made friends with here, and we kind of formed this Track Day Heroes group of guys that do track days together and street rides together. Jason, you have done a lot of these. You've organized. You've led a lot of these. Can you tell me and tell our viewers who may not be familiar with going on, if you're new to riding and you haven't done an organized street ride, how do you find one to go on? Where do you guys go? What are the rules? What's it like?
All right. Well, if you're looking into being a part of a group ride and not necessarily actually lead one, if you're just looking to be a part of it, there is probably 24 forums in the local area. You got Virginia Sport Bike Riders on the meetup group. You got DCSportBikes.net. You got, local bike shops are always doing it. Guys like me are always doing it. There's literally no end to the resource that you can go to. Every single day there's a group ride going on. So if you wake up in the morning with an itch in your pants and you just want to go on a ride, it's pretty easy to find one. Like I said, DCSportBikes.net is a great source for that kind of things because they've always got rides going on. But if you're looking to be part of a group and it's the first time that you've ever gone on a ride, I just gotta say the most important thing is to be humble. When you ride there, you need to understand there's probably a lot of people there that have been on a lot of rides and you know what's going on. And there's absolutely no shame with not keeping up with somebody. There's no shame with it. You get with some of you guys like Nate and you that have been to the track, you're going to these corners, you could pretty easily get out ahead of other people. But there's absolutely no shame in just staying back and enjoying the ride. And it's important to know that when you go on a ride, a lot of times they will announce what kind of ride it's going to be. One of the code words is like BYOB, which is bring your own body bag, which means that those guys are going, balls to the wall. But if you go on if you're fairly new to riding, you should go on one of what's labeled a noob ride. You go on a noob ride, and it's going to be pretty clear that it's going to be a slow pace. And the other thing you should do before you get there is try and familiarize yourself with the route. If they happen to post up the route, you should familiarize yourself with it, and just stay in the back, enjoy the ride, and just be humble. Just show up, make friends, have a good time, enjoy the ride, make it back in one piece so you can do the next ride. It's disappointing sometimes when I see people that are new to riding think that they have to keep up with the group and they end up laying their bike down because they just can't. They don't have the experience yet. So yeah, if you're looking to get into a group riding, I would say most importantly, be familiar with the route, be familiar with your own abilities, and choose your group that you're going out with accordingly. If you're looking into leading a group ride, I gotta say start small. The first group ride I did, I announced it, and 34 people showed up, and it was a catastrophe. There was so many people. We were on the road for all of about 5 miles before the group got split up, and it was just terrible. So the next one that I did, I cut it off at 8, and 8 people went out, and somewhere between 8 and 12 seems to be the perfect number of people for a liberated pace ride. Deciding what you want to do with your ride is going to dictate how big of a ride that you have. If you just want to have a chill out time and you got a destination, like if you want to go to Luray and have a burger and a beer and then come on back, you're okay with having 10 or 15 or 20 people in your group ride. If you know it's going to be extremely liberated, then you should probably keep it short. But regardless, the first time you should keep it short. Plan out your route accordingly. It should be a route that you are very familiar with. You need to when you're the leader of the group, you should be the leader of the group. You need to take that leadership role in the group. Always have a a safety breakdown before you leave. You know, you go through the hand signals real quick because you never know when there's going to be that one guy that shows up that has no idea what this or you know, pointing the fingers or sticking a leg out means. They have no idea what those signals are, so they're just
Right.
so it's very important to have that quick safety briefing. Let them know what the route is. When we ride, we always say you're responsible for one headlight behind you. So you know, if you're in front, you know, and you're getting ahead of the group, is so much to the point you can't see the bike behind you, you need to let that guy catch up to you a little bit. And another important thing is if there's any turns, I tell my guys whenever we go on group rides, I tell them if you come to an intersection and you don't see the group, then that means we went straight. If you're gonna go on a route and there's turns in the route, you have to wait for the entire group to come to that intersection before you make the turn. So nobody get lost and no, you know, everybody will have a good time. So if you're going to lead a group, keep it small. Go to some of the forums and push yourself out there. Announce a starting time, an ending time, announce the route and what kind of pace that it's going to be, and make sure you take that leadership role if you're going to be the leader of the group. And most importantly, go out and have a good time because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. My experience has been on some group rides with new groups where I've been riding for a long time, but I didn't know the route, and people were flying down this road, and it was like that airplane ride I did in Southern Maryland, and they call it the airplane ride because you get airborne. And I hadn't been on it before, so I wasn't sure what to expect, and I realized I was about halfway in the pack and that I felt like I was holding up people behind me because I wasn't familiar with the route. There's no shame in dropping back to the back of the pack and asking people to get in front of you and dropping back if you feel you can't keep pace, you're not comfortable. I think that's great advice to know your abilities and to be humble because it's just not worth getting hurt. It's not worth hurting somebody else by being gung-ho and taking somebody else out, going down in front of them or swiping them out somehow. It's just definitely respectful of other people, and then the fun starts when everyone is comfortable, particularly if you go with the same group more than once. Then you get to understand each other's dynamics. You get to understand what the real pace is, even though we may be a certain ride, you know, if you're with the same people that you know their skill levels and you feel comfortable about that. And when you have brand new people that you don't know what their skill levels are, I won't name names, but Nate and I went on a ride with a guy last year who said he was getting his racing license, and he shows up with bald tires on a bike he just bought, and yeah, Nate's smiling because he knows what I'm talking about. He shows up with sneakers and bald tires and jeans, and you know, I'm wearing my tracksuit. It was a small ride, just like 4 or 5 of us going out to have some fun, and we had a great day. Nobody got hurt, but you know, I wasn't going to get behind that guy with him having bald tires and sneakers, and I kept my distance. And sometimes, you know, that wasn't like an organized on a forum ride. It was just a casual thing where we got together with some friends and went out, 4 or 5 of us, and sometimes those are the most fun rides. But the group organized rides are really cool, and the 2 that I've gone on with you have been fun.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that's a really good point. And to go back to the safety briefings, usually, you know, when I get the bikes here, they're all parked in the area. I'll just walk around, I'll look at their back tires, and I say, you know, you should probably put some air in your tires because they're like 10 psi in there and the rim's touching the ground, you know. And yeah, exactly. And my ride, like I said, you gotta take that leadership role. In my rides, I tell people if you don't show up with gear, you can't play with us. You know, you gotta dress right for the day. I'm not saying you gotta wear your full track gear with pucks and everything, but if you come out to one of my rides with a hoodie and sneakers, I'm not gonna let you ride with us. You know, because I would feel bad if you went down and seriously injured yourself just because you weren't wearing protective gear. So I'm pretty stingent about that.
Nate, thoughts?
Hey, sorry about that. I had to unmute, and my computer's a little slow. No, my experiences have been pretty much the same with you guys. I've showed up with some group rides, and there's guys that come in there with bikes that are kind of in poor condition, and you're a little sketched out, and you kind of just stay away. At least I try to stay away from them. And then from the safety aspect, as far as people riding above their abilities, that happens a lot too. You see a lot of what's that called? Target fixation. Somebody in front of them might have some kind of issue where they run off, and the guy behind him is just cruising along, but then he watches him and says, oh well, I guess I'll go where he's going too. I mean, not intentionally, obviously, but it's just a habit, a bad habit, and you'll see a lot of that. So yeah, my best advice for group rides is like what Jason was saying. Don't try and ride in over your head. Just don't feel like this is some kind of race. I hear that a lot. Just go out there and have fun. If people are riding a little faster than you would like for them to ride, then they're going to wait for you. They're not going to just disappear. So just do your thing, enjoy it, and have fun. And don't turn it into something that you're going to regret later, as far as laying your bike down or getting hurt or something like that. So
Yeah, you definitely don't want to have regrets, because you can't control what other people are going to do.
exactly.
And you can only control you and hopefully your bike, and have fun with it. I did get out last weekend. Speaking of winter, I got out myself too. I went out for about an hour just to shake off the cobwebs. It was like 60 degrees, crazy last Sunday here in Northern Virginia, and I got on the road. I took it easy on some of the roads in Fairfax County, the country roads that I know. But I took it easy just so I could see what condition the roads were in, and they were all really clean actually where I was, and so I had a little bit of fun, but didn't go crazy. I wasn't wearing my tracksuit, just full body gear, normal street gear. And it felt good to get the bike out because it's winter time. I think it's supposed to be 12 degrees tomorrow morning or something crazy, awful like that. And I keep my bike on the road year round. I don't take out the battery and take out the fluids and sit it up on the track stand or anything for the year. I keep it on the road year round, just in case of days like last Sunday in February. So that's something I like to do. If you're maintaining your bike, Jason, you're the expert on this. Do you have guys store their bikes at your shop? And if they're storing it at home, what advice do you have?
Buy heated gear and ride it year round. That'd probably be the best advice that I have. There's two different ways of storing your bike. What you're talking about is what we call the modified winterization, and then there's a full winterization. The only time we do a full winterization here is if we know that the bike's going to be sitting for 6 or 8 months plus. Like we do winterizations or storage preparation for people that are going on year-long deployments in the Army or something to that effect. And the correct way to do that is first you want to do an oil change. You want to do an oil change at the beginning of the end of the riding season, at the beginning of winter, because if you wait till spring to do it, that's that entire winter that all those contaminants are just sitting in your bike. You want to get those out of there. So you do oil filter. You want to do a brake bleeding. Even the best systems still get a little bit of air in them, and that air during the winter will condense, and that condensation turns into water, which can turn into air when it evaporates, and it's just a vicious cycle. So if you bleed your brakes, flush all your brake fluid, get it all out of there, so it's nothing but good brake fluid and nothing else in there, no air in there. That'll ensure that it'll be good. That actually led to the safety recall on all the Gixxers. If you remember, you go out there in the middle of the spring and you go to grab that front brake and there's nothing there because and that was the whole reason behind that. The next thing you want to do, you're going to want to lubricate any moving parts. Go ahead and you can throw a little bit of oil on your fork tubes. You throw your swing arm. You're going to want to lubricate that chain and put some sort of really good wax on that chain. That's going to keep those O-rings conditioned and stop them from atrophying over the winter. Then you're going to want to. There's kind of mixed feelings about whether or not you should inflate your tires and just move the bike once in a while, or just put it up on stands. Obviously, if you have stands, the best thing to do is to put it on the stands. That way you don't get a flat spot on the tire. The other thing to do is if you have a hydraulic clutch line like my bike, the Super Hawk there, you need to bleed out that system as well. Um, wow, let me think about what else. You're going to want to wax all your cables, your throttle cable, your clutch cable if you do in fact have a cable like that. Now, the last two things are really up to your own discretion. If you know that you're going to have an Indian winter, or you know that maybe 3 months down or 2 months down the road you're going to want to ride your bike, the absolute best thing to do is to fill your tank to the very top. So there's very little amount of air inside of your tank. Once it's in the top, you're going to put a cocktail. You're going to put some you're going to put some fuel stabilizer in there. What I use is Stabil fuel stabilizer. I think it's about an ounce for every 2 gallons. Once you put it in there, you need to ride your bike around for about 5 or 10 miles, and that'll get it through the whole system. That'll make sure all your injectors have the stable in there, or if you have carburetors, make sure it's in there, and then you put the bike away. That's the first way to do it if you know that you're going to ride it once a month or every couple months. Just keeping in mind that every time that you put it away, you got to fill that gas tank up again, because like I was talking with the brake lines, if you have a half empty tank, then that air is going to condense, and once it condenses, it gets water. Once water's in your tank, all hell's going to break loose, especially with ethanol nowadays. Ethanol is tearing down gas at a rate of about 2 months. So if you have 2 gallons of gas in your tank, in about 2 months, you're going to need a carb clean if you don't do this correctly. So in about 4 months, we start seeing some really bad atrophy in the carbs. O-rings are going bad, stuff like that. So we have people that rode their bike in October, and they go to start their bike in March or April, and you take apart their carburetor, it looks like Jolly Ranchers, and that's all because of the ethanol. The ethanol breaks down the gasoline. So like I said, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, and this is for the long-term storage, is again put some gas in the tank and put the correct amount of fuel stabilizer in there, and then run a bike around for 10 minutes. That gets it through the whole system. Once you're done with that, then you need to drain your tank, get everything out of your tank, and then if you have carburetors, you need to drain your carburetors. If you don't have carburetors, then you need to drain your fuel tank, fuel tank, fuel pump, and any of the lines that are going to the injectors. Once you're done with that, you do a process called fogging. You can get fog kits. I think they cost about 20 bucks. You put it on there, use some compressed air, and basically what it does is it coats the inside of the tank with a slight sheen of oil, and it stops water from collecting, and it stops it from rusting or anything like that. You're going to do that to your tank, and you're also going to do that to all 4 of your cylinders. You can either professionally fog it like with a kit, or another thing that you could do is just put a little bit of oil down there, like ADW90, like a heavy gear oil, and cycle the engine a couple times without the spark plugs in it, and that'll get the oil through the rings, and it'll stay on top and keep it nice and fresh. If you do it that way, your bike is going to be good for a very long period of time for storage. We got people that come back, and after about a year or a year and a half over in Iraq, and all we have to do is put the gas in it, and she fires right up and goes. Another thing is, I would highly suggest you invest in a battery tender. You can either get the full versions, which are a little bit expensive, or you can get the little wall versions, which are about 30 or 40 bucks. You put the pigtails on it, and you leave it there, and you forget about it. The battery is always going to be fresh. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool, and that'll be sure that you're ready to go for the first nice 60-degree day in March. So that's about it, really. Yeah. Or like I said, buy heated gear and just ride year round.
Yeah, that's what we'd love to do. You're making me nervous about filling up my tank. I got to go fill it up now. I have a battery tender, and I do the brake bleed because I do a lot of track days and stuff. I've gone through 2 sets of brakes in 11,000 miles, front brakes. I don't even use the rear brake at the track or even on the street anymore. But bleeding the brakes is definitely part of my yearly thing, and I use like a Motul race, a little more money to pay for the race fluid, and bleed those. I put speed bleeders on the brakes in the front, and the clutch too. I've got to do the clutch this winter, and otherwise, it's the basics. If you keep, like you're saying, if you keep it on the road and ride it as much as you can, you don't have to worry about things going south because your bike is always always fresh. Nate, what do you do?
What's that as far as winterizing?
Yeah, what are you doing with your bikes?
I pretty much just ride like you do year round. I mean, I'm not going to be out when it's snowing or bad out, but around in our area, there really isn't a whole lot of really bad weather. I mean, we get like one snowstorm here and there, so usually a rain will clear up the roads afterwards, and then I'll go out on a nice day after that. Um, so I don't really winterize, to be honest with you, and I haven't had any issues with it so far. I do winterize like my jet ski, but my bikes stay indoors for the most part, like in my garage. My garage is fairly warm, but for bikes that have like older batteries in them, I do use, like Jason mentioned, the battery tender. I have one bike that likes to drain batteries if you don't put it on the tender, so the tender's been a real lifesaver. If it stays on there, it's like that battery will last forever. But yeah, other than that, I don't really winterize too much because I ride them fairly regularly.
Well, what about the Gixxer, your track bike? I mean, it
Yeah,
hasn't seen
okay,
the light
so
of day
that
since the last
one,
track day, right?
yeah, no, that one I haven't ridden in a while.
You're busted, man.
Yeah, I'm busted. Yeah, I didn't winterize it. But I do go in that trailer fairly regularly. I would say probably once every couple of weeks or so, and I fire it up and I run it because I have the generator in that trailer also. So I like to keep that generator, load tested every couple of weeks or so, just to make sure it's running properly and everything. And run it for about 15 minutes. Um,
Right.
so yeah, and I do run the Stable brand fuel stabilizer. It's a small bottle and it's marked like for ethanol fuel. I just put it in there recently because there's not a whole lot of ethanol-free gas stations around here. The
Right.
closest one that I know of is near Summit Point, so I don't go out that way very often. I went ahead and dumped that in, and so far so good. So, yep, that's pretty much it.
All right, well, let's move on to the next topic, which is picking your tracksuit. So it's a very personal thing. It's like picking your girlfriend. It's what you like if you're into that. And so for me, Nate and I had touched upon this in earlier podcasts, but as far as like this came up in a group chat with some of the Track Day Heroes in the last couple of weeks, because we have a new member, new rider wants to get his first tracksuit to do a track day, and there's a bunch of different approaches to do this. If money's no object, then go get your Alpine Stars suit, off from Revzilla or off of eBay or uh, super, track day sport bikes, and just spend your money. And most of these places have a free, one-time return for sizing. Uh, but for me, I wanted to spend some money for safety and for durability over multiple seasons. So I think I spent like $1,500 on I bought like the last year's best suit, so it was a little cheaper to buy a top of the line suit that was a season old. I mean, the technology hasn't really changed all that much. But there's a lot of great reviews that you can see on YouTube. A lot of the gear websites that sell this stuff, they have product demos on the site and they tell you about the product and all of that. But one of the questions that came up was, how do you know what you want? And my advice is to go to a local store if you can. If you have a cycle gear in your area or any other type of dealer that carries the track suits, try them on physically. And if they're having a great sale that day, whatever, buy it there. Otherwise, go back to the internet once you know what your size is. Nate, what do you know about fitment on a tracksuit?
I know that the Euro sizes. So if you got an American size, like let's say 50 or 42, the Euro size is going to be about 10 sizes, I think.
Yeah.
Like the numerical size is different, and I think it's like 10 sizes off. So the sizes are different, so like a Euro 52 is not going to be the same as like a US 52. You want to keep that in mind. Another thing that got me was when I first bought my tracksuit, I tried it on and I thought, hey, if it's great, this is going to be the one. And then I realized Oh, well, I might want to put like a back protector or something in here. And then at that point, it was
That's a
like,
good point.
yeah, it's not fitting in there. So I ended up having to sell my very first suit, which wasn't a big deal. It happens. I bought it, off eBay, and I sold it on eBay. Um, but yeah, the back protector is a good idea. Some people like to wear a chest protector as well. So you just want to keep those two things in mind if you want to put that added protection in there. Personally, I think a back protector is like a minimum. You don't see too many guys landing on their chest. I mean, from what I've seen. But landing on your back is far more common. So I think a back protector is almost like a requirement, as far as minimum standards. Chest protector, I guess that could be viewed as optional. I don't personally wear one, but as much safety equipment as you can afford is probably a better idea. So you want to factor that in if you get your suit to give yourself a little bit of extra room. And each protector has different thickness. Like the protector that I use is the Force Field Pro Sub 4. It's a rather thick protector. I want to say it's almost like 2 inches thick. So you need to make sure that you have plenty of space for that one. And just when you try your suit on, just try it on with whatever you have planned in place already there. So.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's what I do too. Is I put on back protector, and then I try on the thing and wear the compression garments like Under Armour or whatever under the tracksuit to get in and out of the tracksuit easily. Jason, you're planning to do a bunch of track days this year. What are you wearing for protective gear?
I got a smoke and hot deal on a Speed and Strength tracksuit. I know it's not the super fanciest. It is Speed and Strength's best suit, but it's not Alpine Star $2,000 suit. I think retail for it is somewhere around $800 or $900. I didn't pay anywhere near that, but it was a really smoking deal. My first tracksuit was actually a borrowed one, and don't do that because when you wreck, you owe him $500. So yeah, don't do that. My second one was actually inherited by my Uncle Dave. My Uncle Dave's my motorcycle mentor, the guy that taught me how to work on bikes. When he passed away, his wife, my aunt, gave me his old tracksuit. Only problem is he was about 5'10" and 150 pounds. I'm 6'1" and 190, so I had to send it out to Lizzie Leather and get about $300 or $400 worth of modifications done to it. But I rode that for a track day or two, and when the offer came with the Speed and Strength one, I jumped right on top of it. It came with a hump. It feels great. I've had it on one track day, and it felt very good. It fit with the back protector just fine. Went out there and jagged some knees, and I had a great time. I had no problem taking it on or putting it on or taking it off, and it did me just fine. So it's something that I want to do. I plan on doing about 3 or 4 track days this year. So I think for me it'll suffice just fine.
Yeah, that's good advice, and I think that everyone has their own tracksuit story. I know that when you buy the suit, it should be snug. When you put that suit on, it should be tight. Like anything else with leather, it's going to stretch. Most of the suits have stretch panels in the areas that you're going to bend around the lower back, the knees and the back and stuff, and they're pre sort of the way they're stitched is that a lot of them are pre-bent, and the tracksuit is going to be tight when you first buy it. It won't be a wrong size because your body's going to wear into it with use at the track. And my suit's holding up great. 2 years on it. It's full of dead bugs that I've hit because I'm too lazy to clean the suit. But all the stitching and everything is holding up good. It has a liner that I can wash that unbelievably I have not washed, and the suit doesn't reek. Maybe I'm just lucky. But yeah, that should be part of every guy's maintenance is to wash their tracksuit, right? And so if you're getting a suit, another thing you can do is you can rent one at the track. I think that's ultimately what our friend is going to do at his first track day. Instead of buying a suit, he's going to rent them at the track on a track day, and you can have a bad experience with that if it's like a special suit. You may have to buy it, but typically, it's a used suit, and any damage to it is covered in the rental in most cases. But that's another alternative to buying one. If you don't know what you want, you don't know what you like, rent one at the track. If you're trying to get in on the cheap at your first track day and you got to have the gear, most track days you can rent a suit. And Nate, you've got an airbag suit, don't you?
Yeah, I purchased an airbag suit in 2013. I was just looking around for the best protection, and guys were saying this is about as good as it gets. And I used it all of 2013 for the most part, and then I did wreck in it, and then after that, I was like, well, I'm not so sure I should keep wearing it, so I sent it back to the factory, and they totally, like, I look at it now, and I mean, they've replaced every single panel that had any sort of damage on it. It looks brand new, because essentially, it is brand new. They any of the used panels, were replaced. So they repacked, any of the components that came out, updated the software on the airbag. They're really good about taking care of it. I got a service plan for that, which I recommend if you decide to go with a suit like that. It's a Dainese D-Air. But on the flip side, it also took me about 6 months for me to send it out, get it repaired, go through customs, all that stuff, and then get it back. So in the meantime, I bought another suit, and the other suit has been holding up great. And most of these deals I've been finding, online, secondhand, or on eBay, that type of thing. You don't have to pay a lot of money, like Jason was saying, to get good quality gear. I didn't pay a whole lot for my suit. I think I paid about $600 or so for the other suit that I got. It's one of the BMW factory suits, which are really high quality. They use like kangaroo leather and titanium sliders and good equipment. So I've been very happy with both of the suits. But if you get out there, you can have the option of running a two-piece suit or a one-piece suit. The two-piece suits are a little more flexible in that you can probably get in and out of them a little easier if you're on a break, in between sessions at the track, and you just want to take your jacket off, leave the pants on, or if you ride on the street, just take the jacket off, whatever. But that zippered area in between the top piece and the lower piece is a weak point. I see a lot of guys, tearing those. So one piece is definitely preferable as far as safety is concerned. So if you're going to be doing, track riding on the regular, I recommend a one piece, but you're definitely able to get away with a two piece if you want it as well. So my take on that.
Yeah, so you got the full spectrum, like the D-Air, that bag suit is the top of the line, creme de la creme type suit, down to a used suit that you can get on Craigslist or off of eBay or from like the Wera forums or any of the other forums have classifieds, different bike riding forums, and you can get used gear on the cheap that way too. So it's really whatever works for you. Just make sure that that when you get something that's used, that the stitching's in good shape where it needs to be in good shape, and that sort of stuff. It's kind of a common sense thing. So let's move on to getting to the track with your track suit. A couple guys I know got trailers for the first time this year. Got some enclosed trailers, like 6x12s. I have a flat 5x10 foot cargo trailer that I put a couple of wheel chocks on, just drilled into the floorboards. It works great for me to pull it behind my truck. I can put a bike in the bed of my truck, and I can pull two bikes on the flat open trailer, utility trailer, and I've pulled that thing all over the place. And so that can be pretty cheap, easy way to do it, but you're open air in that setup. And when I do that, I always, especially if I'm going to spend the night somewhere, going to a track in New Jersey or wherever it is, like, sorry, Jersey, but yeah, I'm putting a big chain on the bikes and locking that stuff down. Anything you have locked up is susceptible to be stolen when it's a bike. But if I have a chain on my bike, on my trailer, and yours is next to me and you don't, then the path of least resistance is they're going to take your bike, and sorry about that. But so that's what I use. I use a flat setup. Nate, what are you pulling?
I went through a few trailers. I started off with, what did I start off with? I think it was like my first bike trailer. Well, I mean, I've had quite a few trailers, but my first bike specific trailer was an enclosed 7 by 18. It was a pretty nice trailer. It had two setups, or I'm sorry, two sections. Where the first section was like a living quarters area. It was a very small living quarters area. It was like a sofa that was a pull-out bed that had air conditioning and whatnot. And then it had a cargo area which had enough room to put two full-size bikes in. So it was pretty flexible, and it was a good track setup. I ended up selling that one to a friend of mine, and I bought a slightly bigger setup that was a little more well equipped. The one that I have now is a little wider. It's 8.5 by like 20, and it's got enough space where I can put four bikes in there, and has cabinets and air conditioning and all that sort of stuff, electrical hookups, which makes things a little easier when you're trying to run tire warmers and things like that. And a little more hospitable as far as like if you want to camp out in the trailer, you can just throw the fold down beds down and
Hello, ladies. That's right.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, air mattresses, I mean, they work well. Or if you don't feel like doing that, you can just pack it up and call it a night and go to a hotel. We do that a lot too. When you're traveling in a group, it makes it a lot easier to carpool and split costs. $100 a night in a hotel might be a little pricey if you're doing it by yourself, but obviously, if you've got two, three people to split it with, then it becomes exponentially, more affordable. So that's been my approach. Last season was just being able to, get a few guys that are all interested in doing the same thing and saying, hey, if we put our minds together and can try and coordinate, we might be able to make this affordable for all of us. Whereas otherwise, it might not be. A case in point being the season opener this year we're planning on doing is Road Atlanta. I mean, it's a big trip. I think I'm getting about 9-10 miles per gallon pulling a trailer, and it's about almost $475 in fuel round trip. It's not something that I would do on my own. I wouldn't be dropping that kind of money by myself to just go out there and ride on the track for a couple days. But having a couple of guys to go with and ride with and enjoy it with, it definitely makes it worth it and affordable. So.
What are you rocking inside the trailer to secure the bikes, Nate?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. So the restraint systems. Excuse me. I have used chocks in the past. I've used, and then I also have used the Pitbull trailer restraints. They both have their pros and cons. I have the Pitbull trailer restraints in the trailer that I have now, specifically because there's so many bikes. Well, I say so many, but I mean 4 bikes is quite a few bikes in a 20-foot trailer. So if you use the wheel chocks and straps, you're going to have a spider's web of straps going everywhere. It makes it difficult and time consuming to do that. So for me, it was easier to use the trailer restraint system, which I highly recommend to anybody that's interested in this sort of thing. If you're only doing 1 or 2 bikes, it's probably not really that big of a deal because they are a little on the pricey side. I think MSRP is like $289.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. That's the price of admission.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not cheap. On the flip side, it does have good resale value. Used going for about $200, $220, around that range. So one it was, the amount of time that I would save, with 4 bikes in there, and it's a long all-day affair. And at the end of the day, do you really want to be fumbling around, with 4 different bikes that you have to strap down? And it was a no-brainer for me with that volume to just go ahead and do the trailer restraint system. But like I said, if you're just doing like 1 or 2, chock and straps, that's all you really need. In the back of my pickup truck before I had the trailers, I didn't even use a chock. I just had the bike, I rode the bike into the back of the truck, the bed of the truck, threw the Canyon dancers on the bars, and then strapped it down like that. And that worked out well as well. So a lot of options out there for you.
And Jason, what are you rocking to get back and forth to the track or to do whatever you do?
I have an open trailer with 6x8. I got a 6x8 open trailer with a drop-down ramp, and I usually just take my little Ford. It used to be my Ford Expedition, but my wife kind of took over that, so now it's my Ford Escape. and I have a, I have a pretty decent toolbox because I just so happen to do this shit for a living. So I put a toolbox in the back, and yeah, that's about it. Usually I take a tent and pop up a tent, stay in the tent, and rock it. I'm not quite into it the way that you guys are. You guys got tire warmers and you got the super chalk downs. That's quite amazing. I think is what happens here is the more that you get into it, the more that you're going to want. It makes the experience more enjoyable. But for somebody that like me that's only doing 3 or 4 track days a month, I bought my trailer on Craigslist for like $500, and tie downs are about $20 a pair. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for less than $600, I got a setup. But my first trailer I bought for $200. It was just a single like trailer in a bag type of thing, and it's you don't have to have the latest and greatest to get out there. If you're looking into track riding, get out there for the least amount of money that you can, and that comes into every aspect. When you buy a bike, don't go out there and get the $20,000 BMW. Don't go out there and get the Ducati.
Hey.
Hey, yeah, you single guys, you got all the money. But go out, look for an SV for $2,000. Get a trailer for $500, and buy a $400 tracksuit. That will at least let you know whether or not it's something that you enjoy. And as you realize that you enjoy it, that's when you start getting the stuff that it's going to make it more enjoyable and easier on the make it a better experience for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. If you are not sure you want to do track days or you're just learning about it, definitely don't break the bank trying to get in and then decide that it's not for you. I definitely have learned from other guys and seen what they do at track days and what they ride. I don't use tire warmers with my bike. I just keep the Q3s on it, and they're good enough for me. And the wheel chocks on an open trailer is just about me being lazy and wanting to do it quick. You can get a wheel chock for $30 from Harbor Freight, or you can spend $150 on a wheel chalk that you can detach and whatever, and so it can be nice and cheap. I use a wheel chalk and a couple tie downs and canyon dancers. Just probably overdo it, but it feels good to know the bike's not going to go anywhere. And my next move it would be to. I also have a travel trailer that I pulled with my pickup, my F-150. I put the bike in the bed, and then I can pull a travel trailer, and I've taken that to New Jersey, and I've taken it down to North Carolina and stay at a campground nearby, and just because I like camping, that's my thing. Excuse me. So there's lots of ways to do it. You can be the real track day hero and stay in the tent at the track, um, or you can spend money and go to a hotel. It's whatever works for you. And what I like about this is that there's no rules. Just get to the track and have fun. You don't have to spend a fortune to do this. It's expensive as enough as it is to pay for the track day itself. So let's see. You guys have a few more minutes to go through a couple things.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Let's switch gears here. Talk about a couple things. The Isle of Man TT last year. Michael Dunlop won that for the second year in a row. He won the Superbike race and a couple other races. And the thing about that guy is that's his back-to-back wins, but he did it in 2013 with Honda, and then in 2014 he switched over to BMW. I'm not sure if it was a factory team or it was a private team, but it was a BMW bike. And to switch platforms like that, get dialed in, and win the Isle of Man TT, which is back-to-back, shows that guy is crazy talented. And has really good crews that he works with. Did you guys watch any of that last year?
Yeah, I follow the Isle of Man a lot. I think he just has something that really says a lot about the man that he is. He accepts a challenge, and he takes on to it. I love it when things like this happen because when it's like when Rossi was winning back-to-backs with Honda. Oh, it's just because you're riding a Honda. Well, he said, screw you then. I'll ride a Yamaha and see what happens. Took him a while, but he still won another championship. And I love this guy. He goes out there, kicks butt on a Honda, and he switches to BMW. I don't know the reason that he switched for the challenge, or maybe it was better money. I don't know, but it just goes to show you it's not all about the bike. It's most of it is the rider. You know, a guy like that could probably go on the track with the 250 Ninja and mop up all three of us. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's not always about the bike. It's about the rider. I really like right. I like seeing that. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and his brother rides too. I don't know what his brother's name is, but he rides the Isle of Man too, and so it was cool to watch those guys kind of, you know, the brotherly, rivalry going on. And then last year, John McGuinness, who was like the Isle of Man TT hero for years, he had a bad year. He's had a bad couple of years. He had some injury, I think he had a wrist injury last year. He was really slow. Guy Martin, I've been watching him on Suzuki, and he's been right up there, but he's never won, and he's always in the mix. And did you watch it last year, Nate?
No, I didn't watch it. I recorded it, but then I didn't end up watching it. It just sat on my DVR, and I just forgot about it.
Well, that's allowed. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about MotoGP a little bit. I'm excited, for the new season to start. Mark Marquez, watching him tear up and make everybody his bitch in MotoGP has been amazing these last 2 years. There's just no one. I mean, Rossi, there's a picture on Facebook or on the internet somewhere, and there's a picture of Mark Marquez when he was a little kid, and he's standing with Rossi and getting a fan picture, and it's a great pic. I'll post it somewhere if I find. I'll put it on our Track Day Heroes Facebook page. But to see what Marquez has done to be so dominant, he had this championship wrapped up this year, like with 4 races to go, I think, this last season, and he's showing no signs of slowing down. And then Valentino Rossi, if it weren't for Marquez, he would have won at 35, he would have won the championship this year. He came in second. So that's been amazing to watch. Do you guys have any thoughts on MotoGP?
Go ahead, Nate.
Bueller?
Yeah, I don't really watch professional motorsports that often, so I really don't have anything to say about it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna kick you off the podcast then. Now, Jason, do you have anything to add?
I think it's amazing. But every now and then you get these freaks of natures that come out and they just dominate for a while. When Rossi broke into the scene, he was killing it. He pushed Biaggi off the map. It's like, who the hell is Biaggi? Nobody knows, because Valentino Rossi came in and just dominated. So you got this kind of freak of nature guy that comes up and he's killing it. Like you said, he's closing out the championship with 4 races left. That's pretty amazing stuff. It's pretty amazing stuff. My hat's off to him. I wish he was an American instead, but whatever. And yeah, it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to this year. I haven't followed it as much as I used to. In Rossi's big heyday when he was with Honda, I followed it a lot. But this year I'd like to follow it more because I got some tickets to Daytona. So I plan on going, and I got some pit passes, so I'm going to go in there and just have an absolute good time. So I'm looking forward to this season coming up. So.
Oh, that's exciting. Road trip.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tail of the Dragon for a minute. We're talking about it every week, I know, but Jason, you have done the Tail of the Dragon, and you've been down in that whole area. Could you share with me some of your experiences about doing the Tail of the Dragon?
Yeah, absolutely. We went down in 2004 is when we went down. It was the year after I got my Super Hawk. I went with myself, my father, my Uncle Dave, and I think there was 4 other gentlemen from the Michigan area. We met up. They rode the whole way down from Michigan. I trailered my bike down to the Dragon there, and we stayed at the treetops down there. We stayed there for 5 days, and it was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience. I got to say the Dragon is on the top 5 list of things to do, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do. There is so much to do down there. There's so many great roads. We rode for 8 or 10 hours a day just making different loops. There was, I was telling you earlier, there was a road down there. I can't remember the name of it. It had an Indian name, but the Indian translation meant noonday sun. And it's because the only time that you could see the sun was between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock p.m. in the middle of the summer, because it was dug in so far into this river system that came from a natural aquifer at the top of the mountain. So if you go down there, yeah, do the dragon a couple times, but I'm telling you, man, there's so much more to do down there. There's a lot of cool public places to go. The Cherahalla Skyway was amazing. We stayed at the treetops, which is right at the foothills of the Cherahalla, and it was a dry county. So, whenever we needed a beer run, it was a 40-minute trip over the mountain there. So nobody ever had a problem with that. Who wants to go get beer? Hey, I'll go get beer. Why not? It's an hour and a half trip over the mountain. We'll have some fun. So, yeah, if I were to say anything, go down there, have a great time. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but they just made it illegal for semi-trailers to be on the Dragon, both sides, the Tennessee side and North Carolina side. So it's safer now. If you go down there, look into some of the local greats. If you see Killboy on the mountain, make sure you tell him I said hi. That guy's awesome. Buy his pictures, support the local businesses down there, and go and have a good time. Don't try and overdo it. the dragon will bite you, and then you'll have to leave a piece of your bike in the tree of shame. So go down there, have a good time, and enjoy everything that the dragon and that community has to offer. Just don't go to the dragon. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's kind of what I talked about the last couple podcasts. That was my experience. Was Dragon is awesome, the Dragon is great, but there's a lot more to that whole area to enjoy and to see, and I would avoid the weekends if you can, and get out there during the week if you have the time, the flexibility to. That's what vacations are made for, people. Get out there on your bikes and go to North Carolina and Tennessee during the week and have fun. The cops are no joke down there. They know the game, and go when there's less people and have fun. Nate, we're going to go down there this year, right, man?
I'm trying, yeah, as long as it's nice and warm.
Okay, let's wrap up, guys. Since we were on last, we had the Super Bowl. Did you guys lose any money?
I lost money when the Lions lost to Dallas, so I've been out for a while.
Nah, nothing here.
I mean, I'm not a Patriot fan, so hi, Viz, if you're listening or watching, sorry, bro, but, rooting for them is like rooting for Microsoft, where I'm concerned. Huge Dolphin fan here. So the end of that game was like ridiculous, but
that was the best part of it. I got to say, it was a great game. I like seeing the guys come back and then just destroy themselves at the end. They climb back and they're like, oh my God. Now people are starting to talk. Oh, they got like this much time and they can get within field goal range. Oh no, they need a foot. They need a touchdown. And so there's all this analytical data coming in and all this and then fucking interception, and it was just like, are you kidding me? You can't write a better script. It was extremely entertaining. I had an absolute blast watching it. I didn't really care one way or the other who won, but I had a blast watching it. So it was a good game.
Yeah, it was fun. The second half was great. And if I have Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line, I'm running him on downs 1 through 1,000. No question for me. But it's easy to be a whatever after the fact guy. But it seems like the obvious call there. Okay, let's wrap things up. Jason, where can we find you and your services? What's going on?
If you need to get in contact with me, you can call us. Our website is www.brookscycle.com. It's on the bottom of the name tape there. You can also find us on Facebook, Brooks Cycles LLC. We are on Lee Road in Chantilly, right across the street from Costco and Target. There's a Target over there. If you're familiar with the area, this is the old location of Envy Cycle Works. It's on the same side, same building where Devil Dog used to be, and Trick Trucks is in the building right next to it. So if you're familiar with the area, if you go looking in that area, that's what you're going to find. We are here.
Facebook and Twitter?
I'm sorry?
Are you on Facebook and Twitter?
Yes, we are on Facebook and we are on Twitter. We do a lot of events every year, and when we do that, we put it on Facebook. Our next big event is May 16th. we're doing a charity poker run for a charity called the Friends of the Wounded Veterans. This is a local charity. They get together, and what they do is they take the money that they earn and they buy wheelchairs for veterans. They pay to have their houses converted into handicap accessible houses. They help them out, when old devil dogs need some help making rent or something like that, and they're a wounded veteran, they'll help them out. So it's a pretty amazing charity. I happen to know the president of the charity, so we put this together. We're doing for you two know what I'm talking about when I say we're doing a Griffin Run poker run. So it's going to be about a 100-mile ride. It's going to take you about 2.5 hours to complete, and it's going to be an absolute blast. We start here at Brooks Cycles the morning of May 16th. And we're going to end up at Fast Eddie's in Centerville. I think it's called Revolution now. And at that point, that's where we're going to have a bunch of toys and contests, live music. We have a slow motorcycle contest, a tire throwing contest. It's going to be a blast. So hope to see you guys out there.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. That is on the calendar. There is one other thing I wanted to say briefly. I did have a chat today with someone in a forum that asked about what we knew about Dominion Raceway down in Thornburg, Virginia. I forgot to bring this up earlier, but it's the first track day that I see on anyone's schedule, and correct me if I'm wrong, Internet, is N2. The N2 track days has 2 track days scheduled, June 6th and June 7th, 2015. It's a 2-mile road course. If you go and you do a search on the Internet and look at the Dominion Raceway in Thornburg, Virginia. It's just south of Fredericksburg on I-95 between Fredericksburg and Richmond. There's nothing on the website really that tells you anything about what's going on with them. You have to do a little bit of digging, and this is the only thing that I know that I could find as far as an open date would be the first motorcycle track day that I saw, again, June 6th and 7th. They also have a 4/10 of a mile NASCAR loop at that track, and they have a 1/8 of a mile drag strip. You're supposed to be able to go there with your street bike or your street car and race people on the drag strip for a fee. It's supposed to be an open track on the nights that they designate for that, so that could be very cool. They also are going to have a drive-in theater, apparently, and they're going to be doing car auctions and things like that. But it's all smoke and mirrors until we have the bikes on the rubber on the track, right, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone else? You guys know anything else about Dominion other than what I've just shared, or?
Mostly, everybody's super excited about it to have something. Actually, for me here in Centerville, it's about the same drive to Summit than it would be to south of Fredericksburg or around Fredericksburg. So, it's half a dozen and 6 the other way. But it would be cool to have another track in the area.
It'd be very cool. Okay, you can email us, TrackDayHeroes@gmail.com, with any comments, questions, criticisms, whatever, and we'll talk about it on the show, and we'll try and answer your questions. You can check out our Facebook page, Track Day Heroes TDH on Facebook. We also are on Google+. We have a Track Day Heroes page on Google+, and there's Track Day info on there. There's links to all the major Track Day organizations and in the Mid-Atlantic region and the tracks that they race on. So there's good information for you there. Our YouTube channel is there. And I think that's about it. Guys, final thoughts?
Yeah, this week's going to suck for riding.
That's damn right.
So I say it's a huge honor for the invite. Thanks for having me on here. I really like what you guys are doing, getting the track days out to the biker community out there. If I were to say one thing in parting, it is that if you go to track day for one day, you're going to learn more on the track in one day than you do in the street for a whole year. And it's a safe environment, and get out there and ride.
Word.
That's true.
All right, Jason, thank you very much for spending the time with us tonight, and we'd like to have you back again sometime. Nate, thanks for your input tonight, and we'll see you all again soon on Track Day Heroes podcast in the next couple weeks. Remember, keep the rubber side down. Thanks, everybody. Peace.